In your time of grief, let Victoria Cross Funerals take care of the details, so you can focus on what truly matters. Victoria Cross Funerals offer personal, compassionate support after losing a loved one, providing you with a funeral support manager dedicated to serving you and your family. Visit victoriacrossfunerals.com.au for care when it matters the most. Victoria Cross Funerals, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast. There's no Ouzo Talk without a bottle of Ouzo, which is why we love the Greek Providor. Get a real taste of the very best produce that Greece has to offer. From olive oils and delicious artisan sweets, to unique spirits, earthy herbs and memorable wines. Visit thegreekprovidor.com.au to see their amazing range. The Greek Providor, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast.
Sound is.
Nick Athanasiou, I have been waiting to do this episode for, since we started doing this podcast, 3-4 years ago now. We've been talking about going to Crete. We've never done it because it just wasn't the right time. We've waited to get the right people in the room and now we've got them. Mate, I am so excited to do this episode. What about you?
Mate, look, is it nearly every episode Crete gets a mention? I don't know what it is. It's something about Crete. Nearly every episode, it's either the drink or a story or Nick Andriotakis' name pops up in something.
Well, I think it's two things. It is the Nick Andriotakis effect, for one thing, but it's also the fact that you and I keep defaulting back to Cretan spirits.
We do.
Which is not a bad thing, let's be honest. It's a
great thing. 35N, we got Crystal to blame.
We do, and actually Crystal is in the room for the first time ever.
Hi,
Crystal.
She's personally delivered a beautiful vodka today. Looks really good.
She's come bearing gifts. There's vodka, there's olive oil, there's honey. Bloody hell, like it is fortomeni.
And it's all Cretan.
It is all Cretan, actually. We're very lucky in that sense. So, should we do the honours and start introducing everyone? What do you think?
Definitely, Tom. I think it's time.
All right, so Nick Andriotakis, you've heard him many times on this podcast. He is the aficionado on all things Crete, wine, Battle of Crete, what else?
The god of Crete.
The god of Crete, that's it. Nick Andriotakis, welcome back, mate.
There it is.
There it is.
We are in mode. We're in the mood.
That's it. Well, good to have you back. And another returning guest from a couple of seasons ago, actually, Mary Politis, courtesy of Mary's Kouzina.
Great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being back.
Great to have you. Welcome back.
Lovely to have my neighbour here.
That's right. We are neighbours. We live quite close, yes.
We do. And finally, most people have seen this bloke either at a wedding or on stage at the Greek festival or at a major Greek event supporting a major act from overseas. He may even have flown you around from one destination to another because he is a pilot. Adonis Petrandonakis, welcome to the podcast.
Claristo, thank you.
Welcome, mate. Good to have you here finally.
It's because we live so far away from each other as well.
Exactly, and it took us a couple of years to sort it out.
It's a matter of convenience, isn't it? Everyone's from very close proximity.
Well, at least two of our guests could have walked here today.
I know. They'll be rolling home tonight by the
That may be the case, yes.
Yeah. And all of these people have one thing in common. You want to tell us what that is, Nick?
Well, they come from the beautiful island of Crete.
That's
and all
right.
the good things that come with Crete, I'm sure we're going to hear about, aren't we today, guys?
Absolutely.
We've got food covered, we've got music covered, we've got history, geography covered. Do we have a singer amongst the group? Are we going to hear Cretan singing by any chance?
We do. Well, Angelo's in the room as well from Iho Nyx. I didn't mention the name of the band. Iho Nyx, Adonis, Angelo. It's a huge band. Obviously one of the best bands in Sydney when it comes to, well, in Australia, let's say. I think that's fair.
Matt, that's fair. Very fair. Everyone would have heard them by now, for sure.
100%. Well, everyone, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you here, and thank you very much for being part of this episode. Nick, shall we do the honours?
Yes, my friend. It's time. Let's have a drink.
Wonderful.
Cheers, welcome.
Viva.
Yeah.
Viva.
Hey, Viva, that's right. Team Crete.
Πάντα χαρές.
Nick, did you notice there was something different about that intro? We have a Cretan version of our intro playing now for this episode.
Yes, I did notice the Cretan version. Well done.
That comes courtesy of Adonis and Angelo, actually. So, guys, thank you so much for putting that together for us. We couldn't do an episode of Ouzo Talk about Crete without something a little more geared when it comes to the musical stuff. Adonis, I've got to ask you first up, that piece there, we gave you a very loose brief to do a Cretan version of that intro. How did you go about it?
Look, the inspiration's obviously your original piece, but fused with a bit of Cretan background, I should say. The outcome was very easy to come to, so I hope it worked out for you.
And for those who don't know, that was a lira, wasn't it?
A lira with a lauto in the background, yes.
Fantastic. Well, we might bring that back periodically, I reckon, even if it's not a Cretan episode.
Definitely. Probably want to learn a little bit more about those two musical instruments. I'm sure you're going to go at length in telling us what it is.
Absolutely. As much time as you can offer.
Beautiful.
Good stuff.
Well done. Awesome.
Before we move any further, we do have to thank, obviously, the Greek provider. And Crystal is in the room, as we said, so thank you, Crystal.
You can say it personally now. Thanks, Crystal.
That's right. Long overdue. And we're drinking a smattering of things. So there's a brand new vodka on the table. What's this thing called again?
It's called Bluna Vodka. It's the first Cretan vodka. First vodka made in Crete, would you say? And it's going down really good. Got one little ice cube in there. It's nice and cool. Navy blue bottle. I'm a big bottle fan these days. Looks fantastic.
Well, you've got enough of them in there. The cover is absolutely bursting at the seams at the moment.
John and Michael Distillery. This looks quite good.
Well, I'm going to try that
stuff.
I'm going to try
really
that during
enjoying
the course
this.
of the episode.
What about you, Andoni? What do you think of the vodka?
It's very Cretan.
Well done. Well, that's enough said.
Do the ingredients say that it's infused with local ingredients? It's just distilled
with the water from Catharo Springs.
Catharo Springs.
The clean springs. Is that what translation?
That says everything you need to know.
Mate, and it's Crete. And it is
See,
good.
that's what's so special about Crete.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the source.
Yeah.
And everything is so unique. And that little character right there about that vodka, that's just Cretan to me. The fact that it's just so...
It's legit, right? Everything that comes from there, it's like the original thing.
It's from the source. Even the water they're using is from the source. It's fantastic. It's
I'm not just saying
That's
it's actually
special.
this is really good.
I'll give it a try after my Tsikoudia.
You don't have to put anything in it. It's nice, just on its own with a couple of ice cubes. I'm ready for summer.
Fantastic. Well, you're heading over there, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. 2 weeks. I'm out of here.
Lucky.
Adios. And Mary, what are you drinking? Mary's drinking.
I think Tom poured me. I just had a sip.
Yes.
Tom, you poured me
she's
some
drinking.
Tsikoudia, and it's really delicious. It's so smooth.
It is the 35N Syrah, which is, it's one of our favourites.
Yeah.
And has been for a long time.
And from what I know, that they infuse it with honey, and they do like aracomelo as well, Crystal?
They do.
Different
We've got another
versions,
one.
yeah.
I think that's that one here.
That one's the
Tsikoudia
honey
with
one.
honey.
Really, really nice. The one I'm drinking is, you said the original one, isn't it? It's just Tsikoudia.
It is, yes.
Really smooth. So nice. I'm enjoying it very much, yes.
Fantastic.
And again, this is all Cretan.
Well, the thing is, we just found out today we got 4 bottles of the 35N Tsikoudia, and we're missing one.
We're missing one.
Yes, there's a blue one apparently.
Crystal, what are you doing?
It's coming.
Love it. Okay,
Fantastic.
well, this journey continues.
Definitely.
Now, we do have another sponsor on board as well, don't we, Nick?
We do, Tom. Victoria Cross Funerals have come on board, so thank you to the team out at, I think they're based out of Kingsgrove.
They are.
They're a great Cretan family that have come on board, and we couldn't do it without them. Couldn't do these shows without them.
That's right. And this is one of these things that, we don't like talking about this sort of stuff, losing people, but I mentioned on the podcast at the end of last year that I lost my grandmother. And I can tell you that, having people there that knew what they were doing and could sort of walk you through the process, that helped so much. So you really need someone who has the nous. These guys will pair you up with someone who will look after you from start to finish and make sure that the process is seamless. Guys, victoriacrossfunerals.com.au. Make sure you're getting in contact with them when you need it. It's one of those things that unfortunately we all need, so have one of our own look after you.
Definitely, Tom.
And also to mention that Emmanuel Zaki is the president of the Cretan Association.
That's
Sydney as well.
There you go. That's the connection.
Very engaged and motivated president as well.
No, definitely.
Fantastic.
Well said, mate. And look, and his wife, Victoria, if you reach out to her, and there's Nicole as well, they'll look after you. So just one phone call away and don't have to worry about anything else. They'll sort you out.
Fantastic. Well, guys, on that note, let's get into the episode properly because there's a lot to cover and we don't have a lot of time to do it in, which makes me think there's going to be episode 2 and 3. So prepare yourself for that. Let's start with, where is everyone from? Mary, maybe start with yourself.
So my yaya was born in Ayagalini, which is the south of Crete. And my papu was from Matala. And that's also the south of Crete. Now, I'm half Cretan. My dad's from the Peloponnese.
Yes.
He's from a beautiful beachside village in Mycenae. But yeah, a lot of my family is still in Crete now. They're scattered all over. So some are in Iraklio, some are in Chania, Rodopu, Mires, Matala still. And I make it quite a journey to visit each and every one of them every time I visit.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In your time of grief, let Victoria Cross Funerals take care of the details so you can focus on what truly matters. Victoria Cross Funerals offer personal, compassionate support after losing a loved one, providing you with a funeral support manager dedicated to serving you and your family. Visit victoriacrossfunerals.com.au for care when it matters the most. Victoria Cross Funerals, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast. There's no Ouzo Talk without a bottle of Ouzo, which is why we love the Greek providore. Get a real taste of the very best produce that Greece has to offer. From olive oils and delicious artisan sweets to unique spirits, earthy herbs and memorable wines. Visit thegreekprovidore.com.au to see their amazing range. The Greek Providore, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast. I have to say, every time I see you go back, I am so jealous. All your photos and your videos and whatnot, it just looks brilliant.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Crete. It's such a magical place. It's one of my favorite places to visit in Crete. It's always Corfu, where you're from.
Yes.
Tom, I do. You know how much I love Corfu, but
I know.
Crete really has a piece of my heart. And anyone who visits, really, my husband, he's from Constantinople, but he absolutely loves Crete and is always willing to go back. You know how a lot of people don't really want to go back to another place twice or 3 times?
Yep, sure.
It's always on the list. We've got to go back to Crete.
I've never had one bad word about Crete, so
Ever.
definitely. Donny, what about you, my friend? You've got the unique. I don't know about Nick, but I understand you were born in Crete.
No,
weren't?
I was born here in Sydney, but I was raised in Chania.
Okay.
So my
when
family.
did you leave Sydney to go to Crete?
We left in the late 80s, in 1988, when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And I spent my formative years in Chania until the age of 20
Yeah.
when I moved back to Sydney. Both my parents are from Chania. My father comes from a χωριό called Vatolakos, and my mum comes from the Kissamos region, from a χωριό called Plokamiana. Her surname, her maiden name was Plokamaki, so it's a very strong connection to the χωριό. So we'd like to think that they
Named after the village.
Probably started it.
they named the village, actually, probably, yeah.
Fantastic. And was it a culture shock for you? Like, were you young enough or old enough rather, to understand the difference between here and there, or were you too young by the time you moved back over?
No, it wasn't really a culture shock. Not in a negative way, at least. It was a positive thing in both directions as well. But,
Yeah, great. We're looking at Nick now. I mean, everyone knows Nick. Nick's a de facto producer of this show at this point. Nick, just remind everyone, where are you from?
Well, I was born in Crete, in the village of Moustakos, in
Strong name.
southwest Crete, which is separated from Plokamiana by a mountain called Aios Dikios.
So you're neighbours?
Yeah, we are. There's a lot of communication between the Moustakiotes and the people from the Eniachoria, which is Elos, Plokamiana, Theodoriana, and so forth. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Brilliant. And when did you come to Australia, Nick?
So we came here in 1966. I was 6 years old, and I've lived here most of my life, but I've been going to Crete on a regular basis.
There you go. And what better people to talk about Crete, Tom, eh?
That's right. And this is why I want to ask this question. Just a general question for everyone. Why is Crete so special? There's a million different reasons that I can think of, but in your opinion, your biased opinion, I want to know why you think it's special.
It's the island of the gods. It is where Zeus was born. It is where the Titanomachia happened between the Titans. It is where Zeus was saved by the Politis. This is dream time. This is dreaming. This is mythology. This is the beginning of the Western world as we know it today. The Minoan civilization. Europa was kidnapped by Zeus, the Phoenician princess, and mated with her on Crete. So this is the beginning. This mythology tells us the beginning and the origins of the world, the Western world as we know today. So it's a magical place, it's a mythical place, and it's a place, what I call a temple. I actually go there and you pray, you relieve yourself, you awaken your senses because there is something there. Whatever it is, it draws the visitor back.
What is that like for you guys when you go back the first time? I know I can only sort of imagine, because whenever I go back to Kerkira, there's a very specific feeling that I have and a very specific emotion. Can you describe that emotion or that feeling when you arrive? We're getting very metaphysical here.
I don't think we've had enough to drink yet, Tom.
I know.
I think there definitely is a lot of emotion when I return. And someone always asks me, how do you describe Crete? I always say it's magic. And I think it's magic because it reflects everything that Nick just said. It reflects it. It's magic in a sense that it's still rooted to its traditions and to what's deeply rooted in the Minoan civilization and what they still eat and how they still practice, and it's still there. They haven't lost any of that. And that's what makes it so special. And it just takes us away from what we know here and takes us and puts us into a situation, into the Greek way of life, the Cretan way of life. You're experiencing something different, especially if it's a routine that we don't have. Sorry. It's a Tsikoudia.
It's okay.
Bloody hell.
What about you, Andori?
It's the DNA. It's the blood that runs in our veins, right? And from what both Mary and Nick have already said, you can get this extreme sense of pride, and it's a pride that's based on what Nick was saying about the origins of what we know as the Western civilization and story time, all the way through the heroic acts of World War II. And the fact that we are so tied to our culture, our music, our food, our traditions in every way, it's all connected, right? Because we feel it inside us.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's probably a sense of connection. I think it's what you're trying to allude to, Mary. Yeah. As soon as you get there, you just feel that natural connection.
I wasn't born there, but I feel the connection through the love that my yaya describes to me about Crete.
Yeah,
you know?
Brilliant. Yeah. And it's all the senses, the smell, the sounds and the voices and stuff. Yeah, no, exactly. Brilliant. There you go. Well
see, even I feel that. Like you saying that now, I can feel it.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I wish I could take her back. Yeah. You know, she's probably hasn't been in about 20, 25 years. I wish I could just put on an airplane, take her back, visit her sisters.
Yeah. Immaculate cook as well.
Oh, yeah. My goodness. Yeah, my goodness. Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic. Nico, talk to us. Tell us the history of Crete now. So how far back can you trace humanity in Crete? Probably the best way to start.
Probably at least 15,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Paleolithic, Neolithic.
Yep.
During that period, there were also hippopotamus and elephants on the island. It was a different period.
Really?
So you had hippopotamus and elephants on
There are plenty of skeletal remains that were found on the island. And then we go into the later period where peoples would have come in from the east, probably from the Mesopotamia and from the Near East, and they would have mixed with the locals, and then a new culture got created. And we're talking about around the 3000 BC mark. From there, the Minoan civilization flourished. We got the first theatre. We got the first, like I said before, the gods were created there. You know, Zeus overthrew his father Kronos. A new order came, and it starts there. And Europa and the birth of Europe. This mythology is the beginning, and it starts there. And
This is a really advanced civilization,
absolutely
too,
it is.
Among the first really advanced ones.
It is the first advanced civilization in Europe, in the Western world. And it has created its own palaces. It had sewerage, running water,
Yes.
architecture, road. The first road in Europe is there, paved roads.
Automatic doors, I heard, as well at some point.
Yeah, and the art was outstanding.
Yes.
As well as the bullfighting and the athleticism, the performers there in the ring.
Yes.
And I heard that the writing system, Linear A, was created.
That's correct. Linear A and Linear B.
History's first airport, Ikaros and Daedalus took off.
Right.
That's a great point.
So that's my
So they were the
inspiration.
architects.
That's a great point.
Hang on a
the
second.
architect of the palace at Knossos.
Yes.
And they
Hang on.
escaped.
Sorry, can I say that? Was there the first airport was in Crete?
I'm not sure if you ever heard of the story of Ikaros and Daedalus, the father and son.
got it.
Come back to get with it.
Yeah.
So
flew
they
too
took
close
off
to the
the first man to fly.
Yes.
The first men or humans
Brilliant.
to fly
Yeah.
came off Crete. So there must have been an airport or something.
100%.
Classic.
What was the airport called, Adonis?
Korafakia.
I love it.
And wax made from beautiful Cretan honey.
That's right.
That's all. I'm not sure where the feathers came from, though. But
Yeah.
It's all wax. So it starts there, and the legends and the myths start there, and then we have the early and the middle palatial period, as they were described by the British archaeologists, and then probably the highest period was about the 1500 BC, around that time, and around that time also it collapsed. Some of the theories are that it was a massive tsunami from the explosion of Santorini,
Yes.
of the volcano, and that would have weakened what was a thalassocracy, which is a seafaring power. And then the Mycenaean civilization came in, which were more warlike from the mainland, from the Peloponnese, and we go to a new phase after that.
It's interesting because the Minoan civilization and let's say the ancient Cretan civilization is associated or is connected. There have been connections made in the Bible, in the story of Samson, for example, with the Philistines, saying that they were the Minoans
That's
for a
right.
start.
So that's part of the research and part of the theories, but nothing's proven.
Yes.
That the Philistines
Yeah.
or the Palestinians were actually
Yes.
Cretans or Minoans, right? But there were other peoples in the region, and there was also a collapse of in the Bronze Age period, a massive collapse of civilizations in that region as well, unexplained to this day.
Yes.
So that's the beginning, and then from there we have the Mycenaean period, Agamemnon, Menelaus, Sparta, Mykonos, the Battle of Troy. The Cretans sent ships, and then from that period we go into the Classical period, and then the Roman period, and then the Byzantium period, with that touch of Saracen in there somewhere, and then the Venetian period, and then the Ottoman period, and then the modern day.
Yes.
The unification with Greece in 1913.
Definitely. I think what the fascinating thing is about the Minoan civilization is there's stuff still there. Palace of Knossos and original painting from back at the time. So it's not just it's a story. Actually, there's evidence there, and it's still there. You can go see it today.
Yeah, look, to be fair, the Palace of Knossos is a reconstruction by Sir
really?
Arthur Evans.
Come on. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It is in the
Mary's disappointed.
In the
Killed it for
1910s.
me.
So it's like
I was going to say it's very well preserved.
As a matter of fact, there was a wind that went through the other day, and it took out the dolphins.
You're joking.
Yeah, the plaster dolphins are gone. But anyway, look, regardless of that, it is his vision of what it was like, and it gives you a perspective. Because the art is there. There's a lot of pottery. There's a lot of great art in the ceramics, and it was his interpretation, but it was a very highly advanced civilization.
Yes.
Knossos is there. That's one of the palaces. Kizonia is the other palace, and that's Chania. Chania is Europe's second oldest continuously inhabited city. Argos in the Peloponnese is the first.
Okay.
So Argos runs at about 6,000 years of continuous habitation, and Chania is running at 5.
Right. The thing that I find fascinating as well, though, is that Crete is situated so perfectly between these two civilizations. You know, it itself being its own, between the Egyptians and the Athenians, and the rest of
It is,
Greece.
and it's at the crossroads of 3 continents.
Yes.
So those three continents have geologically shaped it.
Yes.
The clash of the continents, I call it. So Crete has been pushed up out of the Mediterranean Sea by the clash of Europe and Africa. But also, that's the geology, and you have a very young geological place, as most of Greece is.
Yes.
And therefore, that's why you have high mountains, big ravines, and continuous rock falls, and because it's young geologically, very young.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I was just going to, you just answered it.
Yeah.
So the reason why it's so mountain is because the two plates push together
And pushed it out of the sea.
yeah.
And also all of Greece, like the Pindus range that comes from Epirus all the way down through the Peloponnese, and Crete's sort of an extension of that. So all of that hasn't had time to be eroded and weathered like Australia has, which is the oldest continent.
Yes.
And that's why Australia's so flat. But Greece is very young geologically, and that's why it's so sharp and jagged and high.
It's an interesting way to look at it. I haven't never thought about it that way.
Yeah, you're right. And you talk about the height, because I had a quick look. The highest mountains in Crete is actually higher than the highest mountains in Australia.
That's right. There are 30 peaks over 2,000
Wow.
metres. Bachnes, the Lefkaori is 2453, and Psiloriti in Erethymno is 2456. There's only 3 metres between them.
I'm guessing these are inhabited by a lot of goats and shepherds, right?
So they're uninhabited at the
Olive
peaks.
trees.
Oh, really?
So the moonscape, it's like a moonscape on the Lefkaori.
Yeah,
The
right.
White Mountains have a massive moonscape. It's basically denuded of any vegetation, and as barren and rocky as.
Yeah, wow.
And so is Psiloriti. When you walk up Psiloriti from where Zeus was born, which is the cave of Iho Nyx, and you walk up from there and you start walking up, you see the vegetation go away.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so no olive trees up there, Nick.
There's no olive trees.
Unbelievable. But I understand there's a lot of olive trees and a lot of old olive trees in Crete as well.
So the oldest olive tree is at Onovougas, about
This is in the
3,000
world,
years
right?
in the world. And there's also one near Manusaki's winery. It's a bit younger, but it's beautiful as well for people to go and have a look at. But also, the Cretans are the biggest consumers of olive oil in the world. The Greeks generally are the biggest consumers of olive oil per capita. But the Cretans consume 3 times more than the rest of the Greeks.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's a huge tradition.
That's why
It's
they all
been
look
going
good.
from ancient times. And so the olive oil and the winemaking tradition has been in Crete. The first wine press, the first winery was on Crete.
Wow.
The first vineyards in Europe. Now, they did come from obviously they brought the wine from Georgia and places like that in Mesopotamia, but it's there, it starts there, and then from there goes to the Greeks. The Greeks take it to the Romans take it to France, and so forth.
Wow.
Yeah.
All started from Crete, eh?
Yeah.
It's all there.
Look, you just touched on the olive tree. So how old was that first? That
3,000 years old.
Okay, so you're saying the Minoans planted that olive tree.
That tree would have been planted, around that period.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
About
Having olives from
1000
Minoan.
BC.
And it's still bearing fruit.
It's still bearing fruit. It's been grafted over time. The trunk is huge.
Yes.
It's hollowed out. You can actually walk. You can actually climb through it. And I encourage anybody who's got kids to go there and get the kids to go to run through the trunk of the tree. It's quite a lot of fun. You know?
Yeah, wow.
I took my kids in 2023. It's a monument. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you look at it, wasn't what I expected. When I visited, I was expecting a really thick, big tree, but it's like you said, it's hollow and it's growing in almost like a cylindrical formation.
Oh, right.
And it was bearing fruit when we were there. The kids were running around it. You have to visit next time.
How good is that? Like,
So did they make olive oil specifically from that tree? Like, I mean, it wouldn't
It
produce
was a
oil.
private tree,
Right.
but now it's been handed over to the council, the Demos, and they don't pick olives, but there are olives on it, and you can get them, and you can crush them, and you can make oil. Absolutely.
you can plant them.
Imagine the generations of people who have fed their families from that particular tree over that period.
Well, all the scientists test the DNA of the tree, but it'd be interesting to test the DNA of the skin of the tree, the bark, because it's been touched by 3,000 years of human existence.
Wow.
So in the bark there would be human DNA, obviously, and it's just a continuous living thing, and it's a marvel and it's a treasure.
And there's probably someone playing the lid underneath that
It's
olive
Adonis.
tree. Andoni.
Yeah,
I'm saying someone would have played the lid underneath that tree for sure.
Yeah, maybe parts of the tree have been used to make instruments,
Wow,
possibly.
there you go. Well, just on that, what is it? Olive wood you use to make that type of musical instrument?
These days, you can get a lira that's made out of olive wood.
Really?
Traditionally, it's not. It's not. Other types of wood are used, which have got to do with the resonance and the color as well. Yeah, it's not something that I'm aware of, but I know that you can get it these days. It could be the density, it could be the weight of it. It's a number of things, obviously.
I wouldn't imagine that it would be a very resonant wood for that sort of purpose.
Yeah, I'm not very accustomed with the structural side of things, but I am aware that they do use olive wood these days
Very interesting.
as a choice.
Wow. Maybe just quickly describe what a litter is for.
We're moving into music. This is a big.
Oh, we can touch
big
it.
topic. Yeah.
We're going to go backwards and forwards.
of course we are.
Nick, you're not going to go too far because I've got more
The
history.
lira has its roots in the ancient world, and it does. One of the stories says that it comes from Hermes, the god that used to play a lira that was made out of a turtle shell and with strings. But it's basically it's a simplified version of a violin that's held a little bit differently. It's held on your knee, and as opposed to being held up in the air like a violin. Normally a 3-stringed instrument that can be a 4-string played with a bow, and it forms, I guess, the core of the lead sound in our cultural music. The violin's also used mainly in the far west of the island, the Gisamo, or in the far east as a lead instrument, but predominantly it's the lira leading the music, accompanied by the lauto, which Angelo plays.
So is it fair to say that the lira is the sound, the musical sound of Crete?
It's fair to say that, absolutely. And the lead, I guess the tunes are very characteristic to that sound.
So for those who maybe don't understand, I mean, everyone knows the sound of bouzoukia and the sound that, everyone's accustomed to hearing from the mainland of Greece. How does Cretan music, the traditional Cretan music, differ to something like rebetika and the popular music that people are accustomed to?
There's 2 things I can mention on that. One, I'll touch on the sound itself. So the sound of the lira itself is a deeper version of a violin. So the thicker strings, the tuning is the same, but it sounds a little bit deeper, and possibly even a little bit more mellow and sweet, as opposed to the violin, which can sound a little bit rough sometimes.
Bit screechy.
Yeah, in the high, yeah. It's accompanied by the lauto, the lute, the Cretan version of the lauto, which is a larger sized lute as opposed to other lutes from the islands or mainland. And the lute accompanies the lira as a rhythm instrument. These days, there are more Western type instruments that join the bands, but before that was the case, the lauto was the rhythm, it was the solo, it was everything. The music can be a very soft, slow ballad type, if you want to call it that, sound, or it can be very, very fast, almost resembling Pontian beats and rhythms. Where the music from Crete differs in another way from the rest of the country is that it's a music that's alive, in the sense that there is current new music being written daily, basically. Yeah. So there are new bands, new music written, and when we play Cretan music, it doesn't necessarily have to be a tune that's 100 years old. It could be a week old.
Yeah.
So it's alive and well.
One of the things that absolutely fascinates me about Cretan music is how some of these artists are writing songs live as they're, the lyrics, they're making them up as they go along.
So the lyrics are what are referred to as madinades,
yes,
which are 15-syllable couplets. Yes. And you're right, you can come up with them. They're very talented, I guess. Yeah. Performers can do that on the spot.
It just feels like it's like the Cretan version of rap to some degree.
It is very much like that, yeah. And everything's expressed through a madinada. Yeah. It could be love, sorrow, happiness, death, everything is expressed through it.
It's unbelievable.
Poetry, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're right, it's very upbeat music, the Bendozali. Is that how it's
Bendozali?
Right? Yeah, so it's very upbeat music, and it's a good
Bendozali, Malevisiotiko, is very fast. Isusta, which is the love dance of Crete.
Is the whole region have that sort of upbeat music, or does it drop off in certain areas, maybe like the mountainous areas?
And the Sirto as well. Obviously, they're the four main, most common beats and types of. They're associated. They're connected to the dancing. Obviously, is the third element here, but they have individual dances. But there are more. I'm aware of about 15. Not the other. I guess 11 aren't as well known as the rest, as the primary four. But Nico, one of those was danced to hide the crying of.
That's right. So when the young Zeus was given forcibly, so his mother gave a sack of stones wrapped in a child's cloth, and so Kronos devoured that very quickly. But the young Zeus wasn't in that gift. He was being raised on the milk and the honey of Crete. So what happens as Zeus was growing up, he was also crying, baby, growing up kid, and Kronos was everywhere. He was trying to make sure that he's devoured all of his children, because his parents, Uranos and Area, they had prophesied that as you've taken over us, your son will take over you. And so he was devouring all his children. And the Kurites were dancing these Pyrrhic war dances and clashing their shields and their swords and dancing. And as Kronos was roaming around, he couldn't hear the baby Zeus.
So a war dance to cover the baby's crying.
Yeah, so they couldn't hear the baby crying because they had this war dance. And what was the dance called again? Sorry, you said?
Pendozali.
Pendozali. That's the Pendozali. Yeah. So it's actually a war dance.
Pendozali means pendezala, five steps.
5 steps.
But that's the history that's connected to it.
Okay, so is that the Pacific Islanders version of a haka, maybe? Is that the Cretan version of a haka?
No.
It's a thing all its own.
No.
Well, okay, so I mean, when it comes to the music, we spoke briefly about the dance. That I've just got these visions of the men dressed in their black with the
Sariki.
Αδάκρυα του πολεμιστή.
That's the one that I remember.
The tears of the warrior.
Yeah.
On the sariki.
Yes.
It's like a black fishing net.
It's a black fishing net with these droplets coming off the edges.
So we see. I mean, we've seen a vision on Anthony Bourdain's show years ago when he visited Crete. All these men primarily getting together, feasting and dancing and shooting guns.
Well,
so how does that all connect when it comes to? This is my question. How does all of that come together to create a Cretan tradition? Is that accurate? Is that an accurate thing, or is that a bit of a cliche?
To a certain degree, it describes there's a word they use in Crete to describe a man that can do a little bit of all of that. Or meraklis, it's a man of the parea. So he should be able to dance and sing and be hospitable, and if they can play lira as well, that's even better. But
So you would be considered a merakli by those standards with everything you do.
You can tick some of the boxes. It doesn't make you one. But
what can't you do? Come on.
You're too kind. But that's what it is. And that's why so much of those elements are all interconnected.
Yes.
My personal experience with that is that I started learning how to play lira through my dancing teacher, actually. My Cretan dancing teacher was a bit of an amateur lira player, and he offered lessons after or before. It was actually before the dancing lessons. So that was my first contact with it. But obviously there was enough in there to trigger me wanting to do a little bit more and learn, but it's all connected. Yeah.
And for a culture that comes across as being so manly, you wouldn't necessarily associate dance and that sort of thing with manliness. But in Crete and in Greece in general, it is very much a manly thing, isn't it?
It is, but also the dance and the rhythms is related back to the geography. We're talking about mountainous country, very fit people. They're walking, they're running, they're doing all kinds of physical labour, and they are super fit. And the music, the Bedozali, the Malavisioti, these are fast dances. And some of them last 10 minutes, and you got to be super fit.
It's an aerobic experience, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a big. And so it comes back from a state of war from ancient times, but today it's a state of fitness.
Yeah.
Now, in the modern world, obviously, and this stereotype, let's call it for a better word, that you put forward, that Bourdain showed on his show,
Yes.
that is limited to the rural regions. And my parents' generation came into Australia were exactly like that.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely they were. But the modern Cretans that live in the urban areas and the cities have a different perspective. The use of guns is going downhill.
It's frowned upon as well.
Not in
It's
my
frowned
family.
upon.
Yeah, it's frowned
New
upon.
generations are coming through and they're frowning on it. There are still many young people that still carry the guns, and it's part of the my father had a gun.
Yeah.
You know, the pride was to have a Luger or a Volta because you got it off the Nazis in 1941.
Wow.
Or you might have had a Beretta from the Epirotiko in the Albanian front,
Yep.
Yeah,
off the Italians. So these were pride heirlooms.
So Mary, you have a slightly different view on this. What's your story from your family side?
I don't know how much I can share, really.
Unregistered firearms
Yes,
everywhere.
I know where
right?
they're kept. Yeah, it's an experience every time I visit, and every time we have a dinner and it goes late into the night. There's
And they start shooting in the air.
yes,
Wow.
yeah. My cousin Gusti, love him. Yeah, I look forward to it. By the end of the night, yeah.
So it's not uncommon to have guns in Greece, because I know in Ipiro we have them too, but they do it for kinigi.
It's definitely not uncommon. Even my niece's christening after the ceremony, guns were popping outside the church.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Class-
Even while she was being dipped into the bath, they were happening outside. There was like an indication. Yep, she's being dipped. Call the shots.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are they handguns or shotguns? Are they little guns or big guns?
They're RPGs.
I think my husband calls them Glocks. Is that what they're called?
the Glock.
Glocks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which are the modern police weapons.
And
So, yeah.
do you know, does anyone ever get injured? Does everyone miss
Yeah,
fire?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Not that I've
Too many
not
Tsikoudia.
enough.
Your hand drops a
They
bit.
have. There's been injuries.
Okay.
I know a particular case.
Really?
Yeah.
Not fatal, but okay.
The other reason that the Cretans carry guns is to tell the departed that we're still alive. So the idea of the sound is to try and go into the underworld,
Right. Okay.
the sound. So and it's a tradition, and they all carry them. In the modern generation, it's coming off, which is better.
It did peak though.
It peaked in the 90s.
In the 90s, 80s, 90s. Yeah.
I was in Crete in 1989.
Yep.
And the caretaker prime minister of Greece, during a period between Papadreou and Mitsotakis, Zanatakis was his name. He came off the aeroplane with a big police escort, and the Cretans just pulled out all the firearms and started firing.
Yeah. Wow.
Nothing happened.
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine the Prime Minister Albanese
Yeah.
or the President Trump coming off his Air Force One or off the Australian
It
737?
probably happens in Texas.
That was a long time ago.
But
It's a very safe place.
Yeah.
Crete today is a very modern place.
I did read an article recently that the local Cretans don't like the fact that they're known for carrying guns and daggers and stuff, and they drink Tsikoudia. I think
Because it's not to be violent. They don't want to be violent.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want that stereotype. It's just part of their
and
tradition.
I read they're the most hospitable people. So it sort of
Yes.
doesn't go together,
Yes.
does it?
Well, one of the things that's always stuck with me, and I think it was a bloody masterstroke by the tourism gods in Greece. There was an ad. That they
The
did,
orange?
the orange.
Oh, yeah.
That ad campaign, I think, is the best advertisement for Crete and Greece in general to show that level of hospitality. I want to hear what it's like from a Cretan perspective, because that level of philoxenia and philotimo, I can't match it with any other place. I can't understand it.
In Greece, the stranger is worshipped. He's the unknown god, Zeus Xenias. And so the hospitality is right through Crete. I've experienced it. I was driving through a village in the 80s, and I got this big shout. I went slowly through the village, and people were sitting there, and they were drinking and eating, and they just called us over, pure strangers. And that's happened to me in other parts of of Greece as well. Let's not get carried away here.
Yep.
But the Greeks are hospitable everywhere. But in
Crete is famous
Crete
for it.
is famous for it. The stranger is worshipped as a god.
Look, you hear a lot of that. Anyone who goes to Greece is that you've got to go to Crete. They're very hospitable. Get to know a couple of locals. You'll have the best food, mate.
But just that the way, this tourist is reaching out for an orange. He's being stalked effectively by the guy that owns the orange grove who's looking at him.
But describe what the guy looked like.
He looked, wearing the black shirt and the beard and,
Big moustache.
And you think he's going to belt you, right? And he grabs him and you think, okay, this guy's going to get mauled here. But he's taking him to go and eat. And, at the end, for those who haven't seen it, at the end, he feeds his whole family feeds him. He's accepted as one of the family. And then as he's leaving, the guy gives him 2 bags full of oranges. So he got far more than he bargained for, which I think is a great way to describe Crete. Really, you're going to get far more than you bargained for.
100%. And that absolutely, and that typifies Crete. But Mary, you raised something a lot earlier, the Anticristo barbecue.
Yes.
I know what it is. Yes. Maybe give some of our listeners a little insight of what that is.
Okay,
it's a very unusual barbecue.
It's your traditional Cretan barbecue. Goat, sheep, the most common meat that's enjoyed in Crete. You won't hear of lamb, you won't hear of beef or anything like chicken. It's cooked around a fire, not on top, not touching a fire. It's slowly cooked around a fire. So the meat is sort of pinned to this metal, what could you call it? A rack. Frames, thank you. And the heat isn't touching it. It's just salted with sea salt. That's it. And it's just slowly cooked by the heat coming from the flame, but not touching it. It's there for a few hours and you get this beautiful, soft, tender creas.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. And it's really delicious.
The first time I saw that?
Yeah.
Was it Nyx, St. George, Rose Bay, whatever it was, barbecue?
The barbecue, yeah.
I thought, what is that in that corner? And it looked like, I don't know what it was, something prehistoric.
Yeah, it does look prehistoric when you look at it.
And it's portable as well. So
it is.
Just give Nick a call. Yeah.
So it's unsmoked barbecuing, indirect heat.
Yes, indirect.
And this is from antiquity. This is Troy. This cooking technique has been happening on Crete from the time of Troy.
Wow.
And today it's a modern stainless steel frame. In the past, it was a circle of stones with a stick they would use to suspend the meat between the stones.
Yeah, right.
That's the original.
Wow.
And the shepherds would use this technique to cook the meat, and it's a completely different form of barbecuing.
This is the origins of low and slow as far as I'm concerned, right?
Yeah. So Greece has great diversity in barbecuing.
Yeah.
People say, it's like the sardo in Argentina. No. We were first. This is the original indirect cooking technique around a fire.
Well, we've seen it firsthand at the barbecue. Mary, is this the kind of thing that your family would do at home, growing up?
Here in Australia, not so much.
Really?
No, not much Anticristo. A lot of ramopilafo, a lot of, kalitsunia.
Which we have on the table.
Yes, dakos as well. But we never did so much Anticristo. It was always a lot of souvlakia on the barbecue, a lamb on the spit. And I guess that came from Dad's side more so. Yeah.
Can you just describe what that is?
It's time to talk.
I've eaten half of it. I know what it is. But
Nick brought these in, but these are kalitsunia. And they're a filo pastry dough that's actually fried. Mm-hmm. And you can have any sort of filling, really. You can there's marathopites where they've got maratho, so fennel leaves, which is my absolute favorite. Fennel fronds, they're my absolute favorites. Then you can do your horta, you can do your greens, spinach, dill, spring onion, and then there's your cheese leek as well. Yep. And then you've got your cheese versions. Now, cheeses in Crete, that's a topic on its own because there are so many amazing cheeses that come out of Crete. You've got your mezitra, you've got your fresh mezitra, your xino mezitra, which is your sour one. We don't have this in Australia. We don't have this cheese, which is very disappointing.
Are they white cheese?
They're a ricotta-like cheese.
Ricotta-like.
They're Anthotiro is we can get that here. We have Anthotiro here.
Stucca?
Yes.
You can't get stucca?
You can make it.
Oh, you can make it?
Well, if you
Actually,
can make it yourself.
I was asking someone about
Yes.
stucca the other day.
Yeah.
Stucca.
Yeah.
There's another one, but it might...
Malacca?
Yeah.
I was ready to talk about that one. Yeah.
Hang on a second.
It's called Malacca.
Well, if you want to go a bit more...
Hang on a second. Whoa. There's a cheese called Malacca.
Yes.
Malacca.
Now, it's a young graviera. Okay? It's a young graviera.
Radio Arvila did a piece on
with
I knew this was
strings.
going to come up.
With strings. Cordes.
That is, I can think of
If you
so
want to
many funny
compare it to
varieties.
something, I'd say you could compare it to a Charlesberg, just for comparison. It's
Right, okay.
milky, it's got a little bit of a chew. So, like I said, a young graviera.
There
It was
you
in the
go.
top. I think it was in the top 20 cheeses in Europe. this year.
Yeah, interesting. Hey.
They call it Tiromalama in Rethymno if you want to be
Okay.
So they don't
more
call it Malacca
civilized.
there.
No, in Rethymno it's Tiromalama.
Can be confused for.
I mean, it's a good marketing ploy, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So if I call someone a Cretan Malacca, I'm calling him a cheese.
A cheese. That's right. That's how you get around it.
If you can outrun a bullet. But
Yes.
I can't dodge, so I've got a shit knee. Oh, wow.
But when it comes to the food, I mean, all we hear about Crete, all we hear, the number one thing that we hear about Crete is number one, how amazing the food is, but how different the food is to every other part of Greece as well.
I think that's because Crete still has such a deep-rooted connection to ancient traditions when it comes to food. You've got your mizithra, which I believe is ancient. You've got your dakos, your baximadia, long shelf life, durable, perfect for shepherds, sailors,
Yes.
farmers.
Wow.
So dako won best salad of the year. Did you know that?
It's not hard
Taste
to
Atlas.
understand why.
Yes, I saw that.
A lot of
Taste
people
Atlas.
struggle to understand why it did. That's a superfood
I
right
love
there.
that.
So
Dakos
hang on,
is a superfood.
Explain what it is. So it's a hard...
So you've got your
rusk.
barley rusk, twice baked bread,
Barley
very
rusk,
yes, unrefined, full of fiber, very healthy, substantial. So great for a filling meal. Topped with your tomatoes. We know the tomatoes in Greece are always fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Crete are known for their long summers, so they've got tomatoes most of the year.
Even better than the rest of Greece?
I love them anywhere in Greece, really.
You eat them like an apple over there.
Oh yeah,
I would have just
absolutely.
said yes. Yeah.
And then you've got your mizithra on top. Now, of course, I've made dakos here sitting in front of me. We don't have mizithra here. You've got your fresh mizithra. Now, this is a local
Which is a
special
cheese,
cheese.
yep.
It's a local specialty only in Crete. I've had it in Athens. It doesn't compare. It just doesn't compare. You got your fresh mizithra, and that is more so used in desserts like your kalitsunia, or could be your lichnarakia, which are those little star-shaped pastries. They're my absolute favorite. If you're in Crete, get them. They will change your life.
I love that she's getting excited.
Yes,
too. Like,
lichnarakia, that is, when I get to Crete, the first thing I need to do is grab a box of lichnarakia and not worry about the calories.
It's good for you. It's all natural.
Yes, exactly. And then you've got your xino mizithra. So you've got your fresh, which is for the desserts. Next up is the xino. That's been fermented for about 2 weeks. And that's the one that they put on top of dakos. Or if you order a choriatiki salata, a Greek salad in Crete, you're not going to get it with a slab of feta on top. You're going to get it with a big dollop of mizithra.
Wow.
And when you mix it through, it just covers and coats the domata and the aguri, and it's
See, now
amazing.
I've got to have one
Who
of those.
wants a dako?
Yeah,
I
I
think you
want
got to
one.
pass them around.
And then after that, you've got your aged mizithra, the one we can get here in Australia, the one that we can grate on top of our pastas. There's that mizithra there. I kind of work with, to make dakos here at home, I put a bit of ricotta together, some goat cheese and feta cheese, blend it in my mixer, and I can kind of get it to taste almost a little bit the same, but nothing compares to it from
But
the
you've got to
source.
concoct it.
Yeah, I've made a little concoction. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's what I've made today.
And the mountain rigani.
Yes,
sea
rigani.
salt.
Yes, sea salt as well. And don't forget your olive oil. So like I said it before, what I was getting to, it's a superfood. You've got your fiber. If you want to go into, vitamin C coming from tomatoes, sure. Then you've got your mizithra packed with protein, gut healthy because it's fermented.
I'm going to have one. You keep talking about it.
Okay, and then you've got your olive oil. You've got your heart-healthy oils on top. Dakos is a superfood. That's why it won Best Salad of the Year. It's rustic. It's nourishing. And can I just say, the dakos itself is rooted in survival. It epitomizes everything about Cretan agriculture, Cretan resourcefulness. It's sustainable, I believe. It's
beautiful. I could look after goats for hours.
It's and you know what it also is? It's peasant ingenuity as well.
It is.
You take the simplest ingredients and you turn them into a very satisfying and substantial meal, and it's really filling. And then you got longevity, so it's a superfood.
That honestly is one of my favorite.
Was that creamy?
things to have.
Well, how do you like that cheese? Can you get that little bit of a sour note from the goat cheese?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because it's been sitting there for a while, most people associate dako with being really like you're going to break your teeth.
You got to let the tomato juices really seep in. You can lightly just dip it in a little bit of water if you're in a hurry.
Sorry. I thought it was something funny.
Quick.
Sorry.
Yeah, pathetic.
I remember you made one. You made one for us.
Did someone break a tooth?
Yes, and we had it straight away. And honestly, and then you break one.
Yeah.
I was fucking. What is it? I'll throw it. I'll knock someone out.
You've got to be super quick, like a millisecond. Just dip it quickly in water. That's it. That's all it needs.
Okay, that's what you didn't do. You made it for me one day. We had an episode. I can't remember what it was.
I think I tried to counterbalance that by putting a little more olive oil on it, but it didn't work properly.
I had a bribe.
You need water. The olive oil won't soften it. Yeah.
Don't need a dentist. Anyway,
But-
sorry, Mary.
Yes.
Oh no,
That was any more left. That was good.
there's one more. Would you like it?
That's all right. You want it? Have it.
No, I'm good. Please.
Ella, it's all yours.
So the Cretan diet, the Cretan rural diet, and the southern Greek rural diet is the forerunner to the Mediterranean diet, the so-called Mediterranean. I have a problem with calling it Mediterranean because the Mediterranean is 3 religions, 22 countries. Some eat this, some eat that. So everybody, for marketing purposes, calls it the Mediterranean diet. I just call it the Greek rural diet.
Right.
And this is a plant-based diet. It runs back from antiquity, and it's been modified over time. I mean, to be fair, tomatoes came from the New World 400 years ago, and potatoes as well. But it's been adapting all the time as new products come in. But the Cretan diet is basically a plant-based diet with ceremonial meat eating.
Yes. That's what I was going to ask. How much meat is actually in the, weekly diet of a Cretan
Today, a lot.
today?
But in the period before the Industrial Revolution arrived in Crete, which is the 1960s, it was very low. And all the studies that were done, the 7-country study, and one of those countries was Greece, and Corfu and Crete were the samples.
Those two in
Yeah,
particular.
those two, yeah. And it was a high plant, low meat eating regime. And what also happened is that they thought, well, the Greeks must be malnourished. They've gone through starvation, the Second World War and so forth. But the results were there, that they were very healthy and the longevity was there. And so today, this is what the main scientists, doctors, dietitians recommend, is this original Greek rural diet. That's what it is, folks, out there. Southern Italy as well, absolutely.
There you
But
go.
that's what it is.
And how much of this was based on horta or something similar to that?
The horta are massive. The horta is part of the stable of this Greek rural diet all over Greece. But Crete, especially Crete, is blessed with hundreds of different varieties and different combinations of horta in different seasons.
So what have I got in my backyard, Nico? You keep on pointing out.
Yeah, so look, I'm a forager.
Yep.
So I've
The
gone back
loins
to
too?
basics, back to the Greek rural diet. That's what I've done over the last 7 years. And you have a lot in your backyard, Nick, and so does everybody out there.
Leon, what is it?
So you have dandelions, which picrolitha. You have radicchia, endives, or
You've got them.
flatweed.
I thought
You
they were
have
weeds.
xenides, which is wood sorrel that I've seen so far.
Mate, you could be eating for free.
And there's plenty out there.
I'm here mowing
But
it.
we don't know about it. We've lost the knowledge. We've lost the, right? But if you go to Crete, I would encourage people not only to go to summer for the beaches, because the beaches are outstanding.
Go to
but
forage.
go to the winter.
Yeah.
You would see the variety, and the plethora of horta and greens.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Isn't it funny though, growing up? I don't know everyone, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm guessing I hated horta growing up. Like, being given it as a kid. And then at a certain point, it was like, actually, this is good stuff.
Oh, that was me in Bamyas.
Oh, you
That
too.
was me
You
in
two are
Bamyas,
mates.
I
yeah.
used to hate bummies.
With horta, after we'd finish it, when it was served in a big bowl, we used to pass it around the table. Dad, my sister, myself, and my mum. We'd drink the leftover water, and that was mixed with the lemon and the olive oil. And we'd pass it around to each other.
Bummies were the little hairy-looking things. I used to hate the texture.
Now
of
I
it.
love them.
But Nick, you said something earlier. We just like to double fact check. You said something about tomatoes and potatoes. They went in the Mediterranean.
No, they came from the New World.
South America. Yeah,
South
the
America,
Andes.
that's right. And corn also came from there too.
Really?
Yeah.
So little did we know.
Yeah, but look, the Cretans and the Greeks, because they're at the crossroads of three continents, and they're on the shipping routes.
Viva.
Viva. They're getting this produce. The produce arrives, and they're adapting it to suit their particular diet. But it is all plants. It's still plants and vegetables. Now, if you want things to taste good, just put some more olive oil on it. Like everybody's going light. Go light on sugar. Go light on butter. Go light on carbs. Go light on a lot of things in life that we don't need.
Not the olive oil.
Not
Don't
the
go
olive oil.
light on the olive oil. Just
I
put it
agree.
on there. If it looks a bit, just put a dab on a bit more. It's okay.
Tastes better.
There's a reason why they're called lavera, right?
Exactly. It's the base of any good dish, really.
Now, just quickly, I remember a few years ago, Nick and I had a conversation about, and we were talking about dairy in particular, and how, like cow's milk and whatnot, it was not part of our diet, for generations, for thousands of years. And he tried to get me onto goat's milk, which I did for a short period of time. I couldn't do it for a long period, Nico. Are you still doing it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the only yogurt I have is a Greek yogurt made from Australian sheep milk.
Yeah, right.
Is that the Meredith?
Yeah, Meredith.
The green,
Give me a
the
free
green
plug.
tub.
Yeah, the blue tub. The blue tub.
Blue.
It's the closest thing you're going to get to a Cretan yogurt in Australia, or a Greek yogurt, a proper Greek yogurt. This idea of the cow's milk, that's to do with the Industrial Revolution arriving in Greece. That's to do with mass food production. It's to do with urban food. It's to do with tourist food. But the traditional Greek rural food, on Crete at least, is the sheep and the goat.
Yeah.
So the meat and the milk and the cheese come from the sheep and the goat.
Yeah. You won't find any cow's milk in my family's home. My uncle, my Theo Yanni, he comes home, he works on the farm, he comes home with a drum as big as me on his back full of sheep and goat's milk.
Wow.
And my Thea Despina is there turning it into mezithra, straining it, all in the backyard.
Fantastic. How good's that?
Yeah.
Do you guys make yemista in Crete?
Yes, absolutely.
What's the Cretan version of a yemista?
I will look for...
I've seen your version on your
Look, for
your
me,
page.
the zucchini flowers. Yes, anthi.
Yeah, okay.
For me, a yemista is very herbaceous.
Yes.
Very, very herbaceous. More herbs than rice, in my opinion. That's how I love it. And, you got your dill, your parsley, lots of mint, lots of fennel if you can get it. The fennel is the game changer. And I think that's what gives it that Cretan taste.
Fennel seeds?
No, fennel fronds. So if you buy a whole fennel bulb from the shops, you'll see those little hairy fronds coming off of it. Yeah, that bit. If you actually plant it, you'll get a wild bush of fennel. And if you add that to almost any dish, you might even call it Cretan.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's my favourite food.
So is that the ingredient that makes it Cretan for you?
For me, it does. Because it just tastes like Crete.
One of the things that I love about your cooking in particular, because I've tried a number of your recipes, both me and Dimitra.
Amazing.
There's the extra level of herbs, the extra
Yes,
spice,
I
the
don't hold
extra-
back. Yes. Yeah.
It's so needed. People are so scared to put all this stuff in. But if you go back over there, that's the way it is, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everything's really herbaceous and fresh.
Yeah.
Very fresh and simple. I think that's the word when it comes to Cretan cuisine. It's simple. They let ingredients speak for themselves. They don't cover it up with spices or anything.
Well, they don't need to.
So when you've got,
that good.
for example, gamopilafo, it's literally goat, or if you've got a kokaro, like a rooster or a chicken, whatever meat you're using, it's boiled into a very deep broth. And all you do is add a bit of rice and maybe a bit of stakovutiro, which is the butter that comes from staka. It enriches that dish, and it's only 3 or 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's the epitome of Greek food, really. Simplicity
Is the best.
is the best.
So I'm going to put you all on the spot now. Favorite dish? Can you pick one, or is it like picking your favorite child?
It's like picking my favorite child.
I know it's hard for you.
All right, maybe this week. What's your favourite dish this week?
I'm going to say gamopilafo because I made it this week.
Did you?
Yes.
I've never tried it. Everyone keeps talking about it, and I've never
Look, it just doesn't compare to the gamopilafo that you have there. When I made a gamopilafo in Chania with my cousin Christina from a chicken, a very mature chicken that was very yellow in color, and it was the most
was eating corn.
fat.
Obviously.
Yes, it was eating a lot of corn. That's why it was yellow, and it was the richest gamopilafo I've ever eaten. We didn't even need to add any stakovutiro at the end because of how gelatinous and just delicious it was. And I remember Yaya, who lives upstairs, she prepared the chicken for us, and it was
Prepared
as in she took out all of the innards and she wrapped it up like a little kokoretsi, sorry. And that went into the broth as well. And I've got photos of it and everything. It was just the best gamopilafo I've ever eaten. And like I said, 3 or 4 ingredients and that's your meal. And
Beautiful.
it's
Holy
just so
crap.
simply amazing.
Best way to live.
It's the things you take for granted. Like you mentioned, was there a culture shock moving here? And I have to say that food, actually, I did realize that I used to take it for granted. So, for example, gamopilafo, I was going to say to pilaf.
Yeah.
The same thing for me. Why I miss it? Because when you have pilafi that's been made to cater for 2,000 people, means that they've used 100 goats, whatever it is. And you just can't get that. You can't replicate that with one, right? Yeah. But this was like performing or playing music in Crete in the 5 or 6 summer months, really, the warmer months. You're doing weddings every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you just,
often the same week, same wedding, Friday, Saturday, Sunday as well. Do they go that
in
long?
the past, they did carry on for a number of days,
Yeah, wow.
No?
Yeah,
3 or
3.
it did. But, when you've had it 1,000 times, you think it's just normal. But then when you miss it, it's definitely the go-to. So,
Yeah, wow.
My seal took about 3 months to prepare for his daughter's wedding, and all of the meat came from their farm. So
Wow.
the gamopilafo was made from their animals. The wine was pressed with their own grapes. Yeah. If you're ever in Crete and you find yourself at a panayiri or you see a sign on the street, there's a panayiri on the weekend,
Just go.
you must go and experience it. Yeah.
if you do appreciate,
There's a lot.
There's a lot of panigiria.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Tell us
events
about
in
that.
summer. So you can go to the traditional or you can go to something modern like the beer festival of Vukolyets with 5,000 people and the Strataki brothers playing. So that's a more modern style, a beer festival. Wow. So Crete, whilst it has these great traditions and this great history and culture, it also is a very modern place too.
But see, you hear about panigiria there. I know you went to a panigiri in Ithaki. Was it last year? The year before now?
23.
Yeah, 23. I mean, that's worth the price of admission alone, going for something like that. And imagine how awesome it would be in
The
Crete.
Cretan version. Yeah, forget about
And
it.
it's alive. The music is alive. I've been to the big islands of the Mediterranean,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like Crete. I might sound biased, but the music traditions are not in the other big islands in the Mediterranean, apart from Cyprus maybe.
Yeah.
But Crete is super strong. The music, like Andoni said, it's evolving, it's current, yet it still has the backbone and the structure of Cretan music from the old times, right?
Yeah.
But it is very modern, some new instruments in there, some new mixing, electronics, very modern,
Yeah.
but really still very Cretan.
You witness this when things to do in summer, apart from going out to a bar or a club or whatever you enjoy doing at night. The panigiri have expanded from being religious celebrations, Panagias, κτλ. And they've created panigiri for every day of the week. It could be γιορτή της Σαρδέλας, γιορτή του κρασιού, γιορτή... And
Because why not?
Του κρασάτο κόκορα, της μαραθόπιτας.
And the amazing thing, apart from seeing the thousands of people dancing and having a good time and endless food and wine, is that it's youth. It's young people.
They're very involved. Yeah.
Driving it. You see that perpetuates the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about in the villages now, not in the main towns.
It'll be in the main towns as well.
Okay.
It'll be everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're very well advertised and promoted. So you just log on and Google Panigiri Hanya or Iraklio and the relevant things will come up.
There you go.
Even if you see a wedding and you drop in, nobody's going to
No.
tell you to leave.
There's no such thing as a wedding
can't
crasher
even
there.
tell.
The hospitality is for everybody.
Yeah.
So even if you can't make up panigiri, go to Crete and you see a wedding nearby, just go and have a look, and for sure somebody will tell you to sit down.
Yeah.
Really? Even if I've got board shorts and thongs?
Absolutely.
Especially, yeah.
He seems lost and hungry. Join us.
Okay, member.
Play off doors. I love it. Classic.
Well,
And if you appreciate fresh food, make sure you find a laiki, a fresh food market in the morning. Every day of the week, it'll be held somewhere else in the main towns. But just walking through it, the colours and the smells you'll experience from local in-season produce only.
Look, we were going to go in 2023, but everyone we spoke to said, look, don't go to Crete. It is packed. Everyone's there. Like, no one's in Mykonos and they're all there. It's just the last couple of years it's just gone off, and that's probably what it is.
In August, you can't even walk at the Limani in Chania without almost falling in. It's so crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So globalism has arrived. But on the other side of it, there are many places you can go to and you won't see anybody. So if you want the buzz and the energy and the nightclubs and the bands and the music, there's even jazz festivals there too. It's there. But if you want to be secluded, if you want to go by a stream or a waterfall or a forest, it's there too.
yeah.
What's that famous gorge where it takes...
Samaria.
Yeah, it takes, 5 hours to walk through? Is that what it was?
Bit more, maybe 6-7 hours or so. Yeah, that's a must. That's the longest natural gorge in Europe.
Wow.
So what are the musts that you have to do when you're in Crete?
You have to eat staka.
Yes.
Okay. Tell people what staka is.
So staka is a umami style flavor essence of sheep's cream, which is the top layer of the milk, the fat, which is fried, and it's added with sprinkled flour.
Yes. So it breaks a lot of rules in making.
Breaks, and if you go back to Anthony Bourdain's episode, you'll see he was surprised.
Yes.
And that's what he said. It breaks all the rules
Yes.
of cooking.
French gastronomy, I think he said.
Gastronomy,
Yep.
yet it's there.
Yep.
And it's very authentic, it's very real. And it belongs to Crete. The other thing you can also have something, a must, when it comes to food, is the bougatsa. A savoury bougatsa.
Πρωί.
Yes.
In the morning,
So this is
Oh,
breakfast.
any
a
time
black
of the
coffee.
day. Any time of the day.
Mary, what's your favourite bougatsa?
Mizithra. One with mizithra, the salty one. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But they sprinkle it with sugar. If you're talking about bougatsa Iordanis.
Γιορδάνη ξινή, γι' αυτό.
Yes. If you get this, only 2 things on the menu at that bougatsa cafe,
Where's
Bougatsa
that at?
Iordanis in Chania.
In Chania,
If you watch
Iordanis.
Ramsey
if you watch the Gordon Ramsay and Gino series, that's the one they visited. I mean, if you don't want to wait in line, you can go across the road and get one almost exactly the same.
Bougatsa Hanium, that's called.
Yes.
Giordani's the original one.
Yes.
So everyone knows the ins and outs of
Yeah.
this.
So there's your little
and I've
secret.
seen the filler, it's been done by hand.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Huge marble slab table.
Yes.
But isn't that that's what I love about Cretan food as well, is that they love the sweet and the salty. My yaya, I was telling Crystal earlier, my yaya can't even have a spanakopita without putting a bit of honey on it. when she
really?
eats a pita, she has to put something on it that's sweet. So it'll be honey. So they love their sweet and salty. So every time you have like a salty tiropita, my tia Poppy in Midas will always give me a bit of honey on the table to sprinkle over my tiropita.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's very progressive. It's very like I would associate that with sort of more new age chefs and whatnot. But
even your sfakianopites or your sfakianipites, you've got a piece, just imagine a piece of phyllo dough that's lightly rolled, and then a ball of mezitra is added to the center, and the phyllo is rolled around it, and then it's rolled again into a really thin pita pancake almost, and you fry that over a hot rock traditionally, or a really hot pan, and you put some honey over it.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Can you put honey on
Simple.
Kitty my laka?
Probably. Yes.
Nick's putting his thumb up. You can. That was a joke. I wasn't being serious. I just thought I'd put it back in
The
there.
land of milk and honey, or cheese and honey.
That's good. I like
Yeah,
that.
cheese. I like that.
That should be the title of
Cheese and
this
honey,
episode.
I'd say.
The land of cheese and honey.
Well, Zeus was raised on the
That's
honey
great.
and the milk of Crete.
I like that.
So what other good sites are there for us to see who haven't been to Crete? Like, I know there's amazing beach. Everyone talks about the beaches. Lefronisi, apparently.
I can maybe mention my favourites in the west of Crete, Hania. So if you're going to go in summer, obviously in the summer, in the warmer season, you start off the morning with a bugatsa from Hania, and then you make your way to beaches like Elafonisi, Stigisamo, Falasarna. Maybe have a visit of the monastery at Christos Kalitisa, which carries a tradition on its own. Make sure you do the trek. It's a whole day thing to get yourself through Samaria. Catch a bus from Hania at about 7 o'clock in the morning, drives you up to the top of this mountain in an hour, and then you walk for the next 6-7 hours. You get yourself to the southern shores. Have you done it?
No.
How old are your kids?
5 and 3.
Oh, they need to be probably at least 5 or 6.
We're a bit tied back.
Or you'll be carrying them. That's right.
Are there cafeteria along the way?
There's no cafeteria, so it's just it's like a huge valley. One little stop.
So it's
You
a
can
solid
find fresh water.
6-hour walk.
Yeah, you do it at your own
leisure.
pace.
It's a leisure. Okay.
Your own pace.
The boat, you won't miss the boat.
Yeah.
And then you arrive at the southern shore of Hania,
Yeah.
as in the state of Hania, the province, and just the view of the blue ocean and the taverna that's waiting for you there is just unbelievable. Then you catch a little ferry, you end up in Sfakia and catch the bus and
Is
get
there
back.
a creek or a river?
There is. Depending on how early or late
season.
in the season, you will have to cross over. But
So essentially walking between two mountains for 6 hours with beautiful scenery.
a valley or a gorge that's
Gorge,
it's dressed with history as well, because at its tightest point, the Germans couldn't get through
So there's
as well during World War
Nick,
One. World War Two. Sorry. Yeah.
Is there a World War II story with this gorge?
Absolutely. So that's the gorges were used by the Commonwealth and Anzac soldiers as they were retreating over the White Mountains. They used the gorges as the passages to go into the southern coast, and they were picked up by the ships. So there's a lot of stories, but also there were ambushes there with the Turks, the Ottomans chasing various Cretans, and they would ambush them in these gorges because they're very tight.
So we've got the Kokoda Trail in Papua New Guinea. Then we've got the Anzacs. Australians can go through.
There's a great trail.
This gorge.
And they're trying to create it at the moment. There's a young group from Australia, and it'll be an outstanding trail if they get it finalised. You'll be climbing up from Hania to the southern coast. It'll take 1 or 2 days, but you'll be climbing up through some amazing country.
The thing about this, I mean, at the time of recording, just last week we had the commemoration for the Battle of Crete. We experienced an awesome lecture at the
Hyde Park.
Yep, at Hyde Park there. Sorry, the 35N is starting to kick in.
It's a bit late for you.
It is, actually. No, but I mean, that's a story all its own. We are going to do another podcast dedicated to it. I mean, but I've just got to say, that was such an amazing and inspiring event, which I know you had a little bit to do with, Nick. I mean, putting that on and commemorating that story and that amazing period in history. Unbelievable.
Well, I'm just the latest modern addition to that because this commemoration's been going for almost 50 years. It was created by Australians and migrants that met in Sydney and said we have to form this joint committee. The Australians were diggers that fought in Greece and Crete, and the migrants were from Greece and Crete. And they formed the joint committee. It's been happening for almost 50 years in Martin Place.
Yeah.
And the Deputy Chief of Defence, Mikropoulos, from Greece was here this year, and they've been the Defence Forces have been coming to this commemoration since 1978.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrific. When you do go through the Samaria Gorge, when you come out at the other end at Yarumeli, that coast, that's where St. Paul landed about 1,000 years ago. About 2,000 years ago. It's written in the Bible.
Yep.
When a gust blew him off course, and he went there, and where he put his staff is the legend. Fresh water came out. So I have done it. You can go there, and you can dig with your hands 2 or 3 meters from the sea, and fresh water comes out.
Really?
And you can drink it, and it's not salty.
Wow.
So that whole region has a beautiful and unusual geological formation of spring water coming up through the salty water.
Wow. What a story.
Unbelievable.
It gets better,
That's how
this
magic
gorge.
Crete
Another
is.
killer.
If that's not
Seriously.
proof, if
gorge
that's
is
not proof
getting
how
better and
magic
better.
Crete is, then I don't know what is.
Mate, I think you said it from the beginning. Well, speaking of magic, we've got a lot of famous people from Crete as well, which we haven't really touched
100%.
on. El Greco, I just realised, is brought in Heraklion. Nico, you want to tell us a little bit about El Greco?
So El Greco, otherwise known as Domenikos Theotokopoulos. Domenikos is the Latin Venetian name for Kyriakos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's growing up in Venetian Crete. He's a painter of the Cretan school. Now, the Cretan school is a very peculiar Byzantine artistic school. And obviously he's there, and he's an icon painter. And from there he goes to Rome and Venice. He goes to Rome and he goes into the Sistine Chapel and he says, "This is not God," with all these very light pastel colours. Anybody that has been to the Sistine Chapel of Michelangelo's art, it's all very floral and light. But El Greco, he says, the God that I know is the God of suffering. So when you look at El Greco saints, when you look at his artwork, it is suffering, passion. It is the essence of the man trying to be a God, the resurrection, the tension between the animal and the God. And that's what El Greco shows. And all his distorted figures, and that is the forerunner of the modernist art movement. So I went to a Picasso exhibition in Madrid, and the first painting in that exhibition was El Greco's painting, his self-portrait, because Picasso recognized him as the forerunner.
And it has to be said, you can sort of see the correlation.
Yeah, there is. There's distorted forms and that. And so he made his life. Obviously, he did get commissions in Rome because he just took a swipe at Michelangelo. So he went to Venice, and from Venice he
It's very Greek, isn't it? I can do that better.
Very Greek. Of course I can. You know, and I'll pull out my gun. I'll pull out my paintbrush. I'll show you guys. Anyway, so he went to Venice, and he was under Tintoretto and Titian, big masters of the day. And then he went and made his home in Toledo in Spain. And that's where I would encourage everybody go to Toledo to see his artworks in situ, in the churches. The Burial of Count Orgaz is one of the most amazing paintings you'll ever see in your life.
Wow.
You're thinking of a Batman now, aren't you? Holy Toledo Batman.
Not until you said that, but yes, now.
No, very famous El Greco. So Toledo, churches, monasteries.
They have a lot of his artwork in situ, as well as the Prado in Madrid, the National Gallery in Washington.
Yeah. Nico, there's a whole list of famous people. From
Go through
Crete.
the list.
Yeah,
Nick.
Well, we got Nana Mouskouri.
Nana Mouskouri technically was just born in
Kanya.
Kanya.
She's one of
Yes.
your people.
Yeah, no, she's not
You
one
from
of
Kanya,
well,
you said?
she's not. She's born there. She's born there, but she's not a Cretan ancestry or origin.
Mate, just claim her. She's
no,
born
look,
there.
I have to say the truth. A Cretan says the truth. It's
She
black
from
and
Ibero.
white. Yeah.
We'll take her.
Okay, keep going.
Nikos Kazantzakis.
Nikos Kazantzakis.
Heraklion.
Okay, so he was born in Heraklion, one of the great minds, one of the great philosophers of the 20th century of European philosophy. Attention, again, trying to discover God, explored Buddha, explored China and Japan, explored Marxism, communism. What an amazing thinker, an amazing writer.
Yes.
Wrote the life and times of Alexis Zorbas, otherwise known as Zorba the Greek. A big mind. I would encourage anybody to read The Last Temptation of Christ, which is the tension between Christ the man and the God. So if he's man and God, then he had a family. So he's postulating he had a family, he had kids. So it's a different interpretation.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Keep going, Nick.
Mikis Theodorakis.
So Mikis Theodorakis
Where do you start?
he's a massive artist. We're talking now. So we've got the global artist in art. We've got the global musician. Mikis Theodorakis is the opposite of Nana Mouskouri. He's actually a Cretan, but born on the island of Chios.
Right.
His mother's from Kesme, Asia Minor. His father was sent there during the period by Venizelos when we had control. The Greeks had control of that region. Anyway, he travelled all over Greece, and he was a resistance fighter against the Nazis, the Italians, and then the communists against the right wing junta and the period in the Civil War. Right, he was tortured, got back to Crete, to the village of Galata, which is Andoni's village. That's where his parents live.
Wow.
Currently in Galatas. And there he's invited to a wedding. And he goes to a wedding in Western Crete in the town of Kolibari, where Yorgos Koutsourellis is playing Armenochoriano Sirto. And this is the tune of Zorba the Greek.
The one that we dance at every Greek
That's
wedding.
right. One of the most recognized musical tunes in Western music.
Yes.
And that was from Andoni's village.
Yeah, so that's where his father...
His mum,
and his
Galatas.
mum were in
And
Galatas.
Theodorakis is laid to rest about 200 meters from our
You kidding
family
us?
home. Yeah.
Wow.
So you're the royalty in the house now.
Not really.
Any connection?
Well, further back, Theodorakis, that's from the village of Theodoriana and Berpathiana, near Prokamiana and
Which
Eros.
is close to the
Right?
origins, yeah.
So that the Theodorakis family moved to Galatas, as did Andoni's family to some extent from
Yeah, they did.
Horiana. Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Come on, Nick.
There's heaps.
Give us the
Eleftherios Venizelos.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's the premier statesman of the 20th century. He's the big thinker, very strong personality. His grandfather was from Laconia, from Sparti, but his father and he was born in Crete, revolutionary, invited by he made certain movements in the revolts in Crete in the late 1800s, and he was invited to become the prime minister by the junta of Wudi. The Wudi was the military junta that was, and they invited him to become the prime minister of Greece, and then from there he was instrumental in opening up the territories of Greece. He was a Democrat, anti-royalist, was part of the schism because he disagreed with the King Constantine, who wanted to go with the Kaiser.
Yes.
His brother-in-law wanted to be neutral, but he wanted to go with the Allies at the time in the First World War and so forth. But big, probably the most influential person of the modern Greek period, and the airport's named after him in Athens.
Yes, it is.
And his nephew was?
His nephew was Kyriakos Mitsotakis through marriage, which was the father of the current Prime Minister, the grandfather of the current Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Konstantinos Mitsotakis was the Prime Minister in the
nephew.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so there's
There's
a bit of
long
connection
list.
there.
There's heaps.
Just name a few. The Anistons have to be there somewhere.
Jennifer
So
Aniston.
Jennifer and John Aniston. John Aniston, Days of Our Lives.
Yes.
Anastasakis, Yanis Anastasakis
That's
from
right.
Kenya. Jennifer's his daughter.
Yep.
And everybody knows that family. They're actually related to my wife's family because my
Kidding.
my wife's grandmother's Anastasakis. Just joking. Yeah.
There you go.
I'd be claiming it. Come on.
There's a list here of soldiers in Alexander the Great's army that were from Crete.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of soldiers in Troy.
Eurybotus and Ombrion,
absolutely.
generals of the archers.
Yeah. The archers are famous.
Yeah, look, there's too many. But look, Saint Philip as well, Bishop, Saint Pintus.
Yeah, we also have probably
Thousands.
the most famous of the Middle Ages in literature is Vincenzo Kournaros. Kournaros, he wrote Erotokritos. Erotokritos is probably the most influential poem of the modern Greek period. It influenced George Seferis, Kostis Palamas, and a few other Dionysios Solomos. An amazing 10,000 rhyming lines, verses of a Romeo and Juliet style love story of forbidden love
Wow.
between families. Yeah.
Wow.
Right, one last one, Yanis Markopoulos.
Yanis Markopoulos, who plays the ferryman. So there's a great tune there, 1960s
Yes.
TV series.
That's my area.
And,
mate. The Head on the River.
Yeah, but he did a lot more work than that. Maybe Andoni could give us something on Yanni Markopoulos.
Without going into too much detail, he was present age, I guess, work as well, up to recently, well established within Greece and abroad, multiple, I guess, recordings and songs on a classical level too, on an orchestral level, much like the Raki, but on a different, composer on a different theme slightly, but definitely left his mark as one of the two greatest.
Wow.
And the list goes on, obviously, Nick.
Oh, look, I'm not joking. There is 1,000 names on this list.
I'm sure there is.
It's huge.
Well, we said from the beginning that, to do this justice, we probably need to do a few episodes, but Nick's doing exactly what I wanted him to do. He's opening a bottle up here, and the reason why I wanted him to do this is that one of the big things that Crete is known for is its distilling, and we haven't really spoken much about it. Crystal has been so gracious in providing us with so much stuff, which we've tried over a number of seasons now, particularly the 35N. We've tried the vodka today as well, but Nick has brought something which I doubt is legal in most states. This is, is that a water bottle? What kind of bottle is that?
That bottle was given to me by an Anzac who's passed away.
Oh, it's that
Carpenter.
bottle. Oh, yes.
He passed away at 105 a couple of years ago.
Yeah, wow.
And but in the bottle is Mournaroraki or Mournidia, which is made from mulberries.
Yep.
And it's like all fruits, you can actually distill fruit once they ferment.
Yep.
And this one here is from Eastern Chania. And it is very potent. I would recommend you just sip enough to sit on your tongue. Do not put it down your throat.
Okay, Nico, I
It'll
just
just
had a
evaporate.
smell. I just had a
So
smell.
very
and it singed
complex.
the hairs of my
Yeah,
nose.
it's very complex.
Just saying.
It's probably running at 65% alcohol. So do not drink it. Just put enough on your tongue and let it evaporate.
Viva.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So
exactly what it did. It just evaporated.
That's it. So that's one of these spirits that's very peculiar to Western Crete. Another one, which is not made today, is and it was made when the Nazis stole all the fruit, the grapes, was Kumaroraki. Kumaroraki is from Kumara, which grow in Western. They grow in your island, Tom.
Yeah,
and they
right.
also grow in the Peloponnese and in Crete, and it's basically called the arbory fruit in English. Again, you can distill that and you make Kumaroraki. The Portuguese have a big industry on this.
Yeah,
and it's
wow.
called aguardente, I think it's called. Fire water. Yeah.
Well, can I say
Yeah.
this is brilliant? I love this.
My liver's shell. The shell of my instrument's made from mourinha.
There you go.
Really?
What you're drinking, yeah, basically.
Perfect.
Wow.
Wow. Well,
That is,
Viva.
it's heavy.
Viva,
Viva.
mate. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Honestly, this
It's
is
fantastic. I've learned a lot.
Yamas.
Cheers, Crystal.
Everyone.
Yeah, look, that was fantastic, guys. I know, Nick, you've probably got 1,000 more stories about Crete. We've probably just touched the surface on it, but we're restricted with time. But, Nick, thank you so much for coming
please,
in. But we are going to have to do something.
Visit the island. It can be whatever you want it to be. You want 5-star, you want 1 billion star. It's all there.
Yep.
Massive diversity in geography, in dialect, in music, right across the island.
Well, we're going to hear some of the music in a second.
And you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
It's not like the rest of Greece. This is a different culture. This is a different heritage here. Greek, yes. Cretan, definitely. Very unique.
Wow.
Get lost along the beaten track. I say have days where you have plans and have days where you don't have plans. Get lost, get in the car, go for a drive for hours. You will end up somewhere very memorable.
Yeah, brilliant.
Amazing.
Well said. Donny, you got the last word, my friend.
The wise words of a friend, a very well-known musician and artist, Ouzo Talk. He said,
Yes.
be proud of where you come from. You come from the most beautiful part of the world. And someone questioned him on that and said, well, how come? So the logic was applied to, maybe we'll play this game together. So what's the most beautiful country in the world, Tom?
Well, I would say Greece.
And what would be the most beautiful island?
Well,
He wants to say Corfu.
Let's play the game for tonight anyway. Staying on the theme.
well, let's say Crete.
Go on, Crete. And then the most beautiful part of Crete would be Kanya, and that's proof that it is the most beautiful place in the world. So.
Well, it's very hard to argue that, honestly. Even as someone who who beats the drum for Corfu at every opportunity.
We'll play it again for Corfu.
That's
your episode.
We'll do that another time. But honestly, I mean, it is such, as someone who is not from there, and I sent a message to you guys the other day, the fact that we are so proud of this, this amazing place in Greece, I reckon says everything anyone needs to know about, how beautiful it is, what it has to offer, what you have to learn, what we collectively have to learn from it as people who may not be from there. For myself, I can't speak for Nick, but I'm sure he agrees. We've still got a lot to learn about that, and that's part of the adventure. All of this is in front of us now.
Definitely. Look, Greece is such a small country geographically, but it's so culturally rich. So every part of Greece is so different. Like I told you, this year I've got to explore the Peloponnese. I've never done that. And the following year, there's Crete. You could do that on your own for 2 weeks.
That's the most common question. How long do I spend visiting Crete? And you got to make time. It's not a matter of days or weeks.
Well, it's a big place. It's like over 1,000 square kilometres of coast.
It's quite vast and quite diverse. So, yeah, just give yourself time.
And where would you go? Would you stick with Chania? Everyone talks about Chania.
If you've got 1 week, just stay there.
Yeah, that would cover a very small part of
Small
the
part.
island.
Yeah. So Chania, 1 week.
You need a month for Chania, a month for every province.
So go
Minimum.
there.
The Peloponnese,
Yeah.
you need 6 months in the Peloponnese.
Yeah.
Go there, get lost,
Yeah.
drink Raki and Tsikoudia.
And if you can't do it in one go, just keep going back and you'll discover new things all the time.
Yeah, discover and live it. It's not about visiting. It's about living it.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's the thing. And I want to avoid the big towns and the touristy bits. I love going to the Horio.
Yeah, you want to live
Living
like a
to the
local,
yaya.
experience
Yeah.
Crete like a local.
Exactly. Fantastic. Well said, guys. Unbelievable. Tom, we got to go.
100%.
Somehow we say that. We said that about Cardinals, but we really got to go to this place.
Well, I tell you, I'm not going this year. You're going for me. But next year, this is on the menu.
Yeah, we got to go.
100%.
I reckon we could do a few episodes there.
100% we will.
All the things that we love, Tsikoudia.
What's not to love?
Got treks, got World War II stories.
And we've got these guys.
Yes. We got festivals. Got
The food. Yeah,
How many
of course.
festivals are we going to go to, mate? Can't
A lot.
wait. Thank you, guys.
Well, guys, we're going to listen to some music now. But before we go, throw over to Angelo and Adonis, who are going to play some Cretan music, which we don't know what it is just yet, but they're going to tell us as soon as they start. But, guys, thank you so much for being here. quickly, just plug your page, Mary, because
Mary's Kouzina, Mary's Kouzina on Instagram, and if you are interested in my recipes, they're all available on maryskouzina.com.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
And they're good too.
Adonis, Iho Nyx.
Iho Nyx Entertainment for us. We're on all platforms for any of your artistic, musical entertainment needs.
Love it.
Awesome.
What have you got to plug, Nick?
If you receive an email from me, attend.
I can vouch for that. Well, guys, thank you so much. We're going to throw to the music in a second, but ouzotalk@outlook.com is the email. Follow us on social media @Ouzo Talk and @Ouzo_talk on Instagram. Also on YouTube, Nick Athanasiou and our amazing group of Cretans. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Angelo Goutsios is joining us on the Cretan lute. Akubaro, my friend and partner in Iho Nyx. We're going to perform a Chaniotiko sirto, otherwise known as Poroto sirto, with amadinada that's very appropriate for this paria.
Έλα όποιος μονομεριάσει. Άιντες βαρέλια να έχει το κρασί, το κρασί, βαρέλια να έχει το κρασί. Βαρέλια να έχει το κρασίο, όλο να το ξοδιάσει. Έλα όλο να το ξοδιάσει. Πατέρνη Κρήτη, γεια σου πατέρνη Κρήτη.
Να είστε καλά.
Ouzo Talk is produced, written and presented by Tom Skolarikis and Nick Athanasiou. Our theme music is written and played by Peter Apostolidis, with additional music from George Kalapidis and Bouzouki legend Thanasis Polikandriotis.
Ακολουθήστε μας στο Soundees, στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcasts και στο Google Podcasts.